Hello there, I'm Joshua, and today I'll be teaching you a little something from the grade 9 math textbook, which is calculating the surface area and volume of a sphere. Now, every shape has a different formula in order to calculate the surface area and volume. This formula for a sphere would be the surface area equals to 4 pi r squared, which would be 4 times pi times the square of the radius. So for this demonstration, I will use this ball. Now, this ball has a radius of 5 inches. And let's say I want to figure out how much leather is required to cover the entire outside of this ball. In order to figure that out, I need to figure out the surface area. So let's start by saying what we already know about this problem. We know that the radius is 5 inches, and what we are trying to find out is the surface area. Since the radius is 5 inches, we would fill in the r variable, which is the radius, with 5. So the equation now becomes 4 pi 5 squared. Now we all know that 5 squared is basically the same as 5 times 5, which is 25. So from there on, we would change the equation to 4 pi times 25. Now the next part, you can either multiply pi by 25, or you can multiply 4 by 25, or you can multiply 4 by pi and then by 25. Personally, I find it easier to multiply 4 times 25, so that's what I'll show you here. 4 times 25 is equal to 100. So you would substitute that into the equation again. So pi times 100 is your next part. From there, you'd calculate pi times 100. For this, you're going to need a calculator, because when you're using pi, you want to keep the digits as exact as possible until the very end. So using a calculator, it'll round it automatically on its own, and that way you won't have to use 3.14 as your approximation. So in this case, it would equal 314.15926 and so on. So rounding that, it would be 314 inches. Notice how I put a dot over the equal sign at the bottom there. That signifies that it's an approximation and not the exact measurement. It's good to put this for your measurements when you're calculating the surface area of a sphere. So in the end, 314 inches squared of leather are going to be needed to cover the ball. So that is how you calculate the surface area of a sphere. For the next part, I'll show you how to calculate the volume, which would be volume is equal to 4 pi r cubed divided by 3. So this time we'll be calculating the volume. I'm still going to be using the same ball as I did for surface area, so the radius remains at 5 inches. So once again, we substitute the r variable with 5. This time, however, instead of 5 squared, it'll be 5 cubed, which is basically the same as 5 times 5 times 5, which equals 125. From here, we substitute into the equation, so it's now 4 pi times 125 divided by 3. Once again, you can choose to do the order as 4 times 125, pi times 125, 4 times pi, then times 125. It's all the same answer in the end. Once again, though, I find it easier to multiply by 4 first, so 4 times 125 is what I'll show you. From there, we know that 4 times 125 is equal to 500. So we substitute that into the equation, so pi times 500 divided by 3. Once again, you need a calculator for this part, as you want to keep it exact as possible. So pi times 500 is 1570.7963, so on, divided by 3. Now, without resetting anything on your calculator, just divide that answer by 3, and you'll get 523.5987 and so on. Now, we're going to round this, like we did before in surface area, to approximately 524 inches cubed. So, you need to remember to put the dot above the equal sign that shows it's an approximation. In the end, 524 cubed inches is the volume of this basketball. And so that is how you calculate the surface area and the volume of a sphere. Aside from what I've already told you, there's nothing else left to say, so good luck with your math, and have a good day.